Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno.
I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today in the studio we have a local fighter. His name is John Paul Elias. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
So where do I start with this interview? You're now training to fight. Are you Muay Thai? Is that the fighting you're doing?
I mostly do Muay Thai, but also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course.
And there's a difference between them, right? I mean,
yeah.
Talk about the Jiu-Jitsu that you do and then the Muay Thai that you do.
Well, Muay Thai kickboxing is just all stand-up, so it's punches, elbows, knees, kicks.
Everything, it sounds like.
Everything standing up, yeah.
So you have a fight that's coming up.
Yep.
Tell our audience members a little bit about when the fight is, where it is.
Okay, fighting for Bellator. It's February 13th at the Sevag Center, and it's an exciting card.
It's coming up. February is around the corner.
It's coming up quick, 4 weeks. Yeah.
Has it hit you yet that you're going to be fighting on this big card?
Yeah. I'm completely ready for it. It's but it's definitely hit me.
Off camera, we were talking a little bit about the fact that you're actually from the Valley, about Madera Ranchos, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in a small town of Madera Ranchos. It's not very big, and just grew up out in the country, running around, playing in orange orchards and riding horses, and not a city boy. So
wait, from riding horses to running around in the orange orchards, now you're fighting. How did that connection happen?
I actually met Josh Koscheck. He's from Fresno also. And he actually came to my high school and did a little presentation and signed autographs. And ever since, I had already done some boxing lessons when I was, 10 to 12 years old. And once I met him, I started watching the sport. And that's just what kind of struck me, and I started training ever since.
So he comes to your school, signs autographs, and were you starstruck, or were you like, I like what this guy's doing?
At first, I didn't even know who he was, because the sport's still fairly new in the United States, and I was younger. This was in 2006, and so I didn't really know who he was, but I researched him and figured out what he did, and then I started watching him, and once I learned, I just started taking lessons. And
that was about, 8 years ago, 9 years ago?
Yeah.
Describe yourself then and now. Much different?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was tall and skinny, and, definitely a big difference just in maturity and size and athleticism.
You are tall.
Yeah.
Does that help you in the fight? I mean, some of these fighters, I'm a boxing fan, and some of these fighters, like Mike Tyson, he wasn't very tall,
right?
But he did well.
Right.
Your height, is it an advantage in this sport?
I think so. I think definitely height is one of the biggest advantages that you can have in the sport. It's kind of evolved that way. My weight class is 205, and I'm 6'4", and the guy right now that holds the belt is John Jones, and he's 6'4". It's kind of proven itself to be an advantage for the reach, the distance, and leverage. Leverage has a lot to do with it.
You talked about reach. So is it that you try to stay away and read the fighter and then come in, or how does reach play into it?
Just when if the other guy has a shorter reach than I do, if we throw a punch at the exact same time, mine will connect with his face before his connects with my face,
Yeah, and in boxing, the Klitschko brothers have done well, and those guys are huge. So
I look up to the Klitschko brothers. Yeah, they're both doctors. They both hold PhDs. It's really impressive.
So now we were talking off air a little bit, and you were talking about there's an amateur career that you had, and now you're pro. Mm-hmm. What is the difference? A lot of people may not understand what it means to be actually pro.
Well, amateur, there's really no money involved. That's kind of the biggest aspect, is there's just no money involved at all. Of course, training costs a little bit of money, but there's no prize money, and there's really no sponsorships or anything. And amateur fighters, they wear pads, Now that Camo has taken over the amateur organization, you have to wear a T-shirt and you wear shin pads, bigger boxing gloves, and headgear. So-
And when I'm watching fights, I notice sometimes on the shorts or on the, on the hat or on the robe, there's little punchlines or there's company names. So
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by sponsorships?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how important are sponsorships to this sport?
Sponsors are very important. There's a lot. I mean, just, anybody that's pro is doing it full time, usually, at least once you get to a certain level. And so that means that besides the day of the fight, you are not making any money. So sponsors help pay for training. They help, there's a lot of medical examinations cost a lot of money. If you get injured, supplements, training gear, it gets expensive.
So you do this full time, you said.
Yeah.
Talk about, sometimes people see fights and, I watch fights all over. So I'll either watch them at my house or I'll go somewhere and watch them with friends or even go out to the public and watch fights. And some people say, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. Here you are, you're doing this full time. Is it easy for someone just to be in shape, to jump in and say, you know what, I'm going to fight?
Not at all. Yeah, people don't understand that somebody who does it every day for 8 hours a day is a completely different animal. If it's the same with anything. If you're doing construction for 8 hours a day, you're going to be pretty dang good at construction. But fighting full time is all about perfecting the sport, and it's about you're developing your body to fight, to throw a punch, and to be able to take a punch, and to be able to move away from a punch and throw a takedown. We've perfected it, and it's a completely different animal than somebody that doesn't do it every day.
Taking a punch. How do you get yourself ready for that? Because, there's a lot of great fighters out there that, I guess it's the comment is they have a glass chin. There's
Yeah.
a lot of fighters out there that are very good, but they can't take a punch. Talk about what you do to make sure that, when you get hit, you're not going to go down right away.
Well, there are people that just have weaker chins than others. But just the preparation for a fight, the sparring that we go through, I spar at least twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. And of course we wear headgear, but just the body conditioning that your body goes through gets you ready for it. You take, as far as your body goes, we'll do body conditioning where our trainer will hit us in the stomach with medicine balls, or we'll just do repetitious kicks to the core just over and over again, or to the legs, and to toughen it up a little bit.
What got you involved? I know we talked about it a little bit, but were you a fighter in high school or something? What is it that you said, you know what, I could do this and I could do this good? What got you to say I'm going to actually fight?
A fighter in high school, maybe a little bit. I definitely would say that everybody from my high school kind of figured I would go into something like this. Wasn't a troublemaker or anything like that, but I was definitely one of the more aggressive ones. I just played football in high school, and like I said, I did boxing when I was like 10, 11, and 12 years old. So I was always into martial arts.
I've met you a couple of times, and you're like one of the nicest guys I've met.
Yeah.
You don't seem like you're smiling and you're laughing. You don't seem like this tough guy that's going to go out there and beat people up. But I hear that once you're in the ring, something completely different happens. Talk about that a little bit.
That's true. I hear it a lot. Actually, what sets me aside from almost all other fighters that I've even met is I get most of the time people say that I'm too nice to be a fighter, or I actually get a lot that I'm too pretty to be a fighter. People, I would say that I've definitely always been above average in the looks department, and I don't have big cauliflower ears, and some people just don't get them. People think I never wrestled before, or I don't do ground game because I don't have cauliflower ear, but I just don't get it.
That might help you, actually. Your opponent might underestimate you
Right,
in the ring, and
yeah.
then you punch him and knock him out.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first time you got hit hard. we've had Jennifer Alcorn on this program several times, and she says, "Get your bell rung," which, you know, I'll quote her on saying that.
Yeah.
When you got the first time you got your bell rung, what happened?
Oh man, that's hard to explain. Well, the number one thing about getting hit hard is you can't show your opponent that you're hurt. You can't ever show it. You have to, once you get inside the ring, you have to completely have a poker face on. You can't show them that you're tired. You can't show them that you're hurt, or else they're going to capitalize on it. You see somebody clinch and you know that they're in pain, you jump on them and you give it all you got right then and there and you finish them.
Is that, I mean, so in boxing, and I'm sorry, I'm going to bring in boxing things because
Yeah.
I'm a big boxing fan, but sometimes you see a fighter get hit and you see their leg twitch or something.
Yep.
Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, if I kick him in the leg and I see him flinch or kind of limp on that leg, I'm going to kick it 5 more times.
So what do you do? I mean, you know, and obviously I don't want you to give your secrets. You're from the Valley, so I want you to be very successful in this thing. But let's say that you're fighting somebody and you get hit in the leg and that leg hurts. I mean, how do you shift your game plan to protect that part?
No, because my stance is my stance. I'm an orthodox fighter, and I am not a very good fighter in southpaw, so I don't really switch my stance. But it just takes a lot of mental strength. You have to, you know, you're more aware of it, and you know, I might try to not let it happen again, move my leg out of the way, but a lot of it is just mental strength.
So your fight's coming up in February,
Mm-hmm.
around the corner, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
What every day is it? Reality has hit you. You're ready for this,
Oh,
but
yeah.
every day, are you doing different things to prepare yourself more, or have you just been on the same routine over and over again?
No, it's I mean, we do the same routine as far as the times that we train and stuff, but we do different things all the time. We'll you know, we're not always just in the gym training. We'll go to the Buchanan Stadium and hike the stadium, or we'll go out to the bluffs and hike some mountains that are out there by the San Joaquin River, and you know, or one day we'll travel to a different gym and go spar. You know, a really important aspect is sparring with some other people, just so that not necessarily so you're sparring with better people, but so that you get a different look. Because I don't know how my opponent fights, so it's just about getting different looks.
Are there people? I mean, we're a big town, but we're also a small town, in the Fresno area or the Valley. I mean, are there fighters that you could be sparring with that'll challenge you the way, let's say, a champion will challenge you?
Oh yeah, I think so. There's a lot of good fighters here in the Valley, since it's getting bigger, you know. And there's the hardest part is finding a big body. You know, there's not, as you get up in the weight classes, there's fewer and fewer people. You know, there's not too many heavyweights that fight here in town. But there's some good talent and some really good athleticism.
There's always this idea that the bigger you are, the stronger you are. Is that true?
I wouldn't, not necessarily, because it's all proportional. You know, there's different weight classes for that reason. Obviously, a heavyweight's not going to fight a light heavyweight, but of course a heavyweight can pick up more weight than a lightweight could. But it's all relevant to your weight class. So, you know, and there are some people that hold their weight differently. I've seen some real big guys that can't lift very much weight. But then I've seen some real small guys be able to, you know, lift more than I can.
How do you overcome fear? Because one of the things, I mean, when you see, there are sometimes fighters out there that you may look at or may not. I mean, tell us your opinion on this. That you might think, you know what, this guy is a very good fighter. He could be strong, he could be fast, his technique could be good. How do you get yourself ready to fight someone like that? Because off camera we were talking, your goal is to be a champion.
Oh yeah.
Champions in this industry are good at what they do.
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself? I mean, is there a fear that comes into that at all?
You know, like I was saying earlier, I'm not in the sport to stay in shape. You know, I'm in the sport to be a champion, and if I didn't think that I could be champion, I wouldn't be doing it. You know, if you definitely have to have something in you that can get you there. You know, I've never really been afraid of anybody. Just like the people at the top, if they gave me a chance to fight them right now, I would love to. I would love for the opportunity. And it doesn't, you know, of course there's nerves and you get nervous, but as far as scared goes, you know, if you're scared,
You're in
it's
the
not
right-
you're not in the right sport.
Well, and we were talking off camera a little bit. I want you to talk about the time you broke your wrist.
Yeah.
You actually knocked somebody out in like 22 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, my last fight was, yeah.
Tell us what happened, and tell us what happened to your wrist.
Okay, my last fight, I got a TKO in 22 seconds.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I broke my fourth metacarpal, and it's, you know, anybody in the industry will tell you it's kind of a common problem. You know, of course you're taught how to punch, and you punch with your two big fingers, and you try not to punch with your fourth and your fifth, but you know, you can't really judge where your opponent's going to move, what they're going to do, and when you're in a combination and you're going for a kill, it's kind of hard. And I kneed him in the face, and he went down, and I, you know, went to capitalize on it, and he was flailing around, and I got him kind of on the top of the head, and it broke. But it's, you know, if you look at any of these big time professional fighters, most of them actually have a little mound right here on the top of their hand, and it's from the calluses being built up from these bones being broken.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're 2-0
Yeah, in pro.
in pro,
Yeah.
and then you're 8-0 in amateur.
Yeah.
You're ready for the championship.
Mentally, yes. Physically, I will be ready when I get there, definitely.
In February, our audience members that want to come out and see you, what should they expect? I mean, do you have a fighting style, or, you know, there's like the Mike Tysons want to knock you out with one punch, and then there's like the other fighters, like the Mayweathers, that just want to, you know, they're going to go 12 rounds, they're going to beat you, but they're going to go 12 rounds. What is your style?
I'm a knockout artist. So,
So the Mike Tyson of the industry.
I plan on most of my wins being by knockout. My first pro fight I won by submission, so I'm pretty well rounded. You know, I spend equal time rolling on the ground doing jiu-jitsu as I do standing up. But naturally, I'm a little bit taller, a little bit lankier, so kicks come really natural, and striking is really natural. I hope to finish. I'm gonna finish this one with a head kick.
I like that attitude.
Yeah.
I like that attitude.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kids out there, and I shouldn't say kids, young adults out there that love this sport. I mean, you know, this fighting is now, I don't want to say more popular than it's been, but there's a lot of people following it. When there's a big fight, you could just go to any of the places, restaurants that show it, and they're packed. What advice would you give somebody that wants to get in this industry? Let's say there's a high school student. I mean, you saw Koscheck come to your high school, and you knew that, you know, that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
But what advice would you give when you go to the high schools and talk? What are you going to tell them?
I would definitely say that, you know, people like to go to the gym and stay in shape anyways. You know, a lot of people are good wrestlers in high school, and then they just kind of fall out of it and stop wrestling. And I would definitely say, you know, it's important to stay in shape anyways, but you don't want to lose that talent that you developed in high school. There's some incredible wrestlers here in town that never do anything with it. And MMA is one of the few professions that a good wrestler can make it in. You know, there's not too many things for a wrestler to do after high school. So, you know, I would definitely just say to keep at it, and, you know, don't forget about it.
We talked a little bit off camera, and you mentioned social media is big.
Yeah.
Talk about,
definitely.
I mean, back in the day when I was younger, a self-promoter had a negative tune to it, but nowadays you have to market yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that.
Definitely. Well, yeah, it's just all about getting out there. It's all about how many people know who you are, your fan base, and you know, that helps with sponsors. That helps, you know, I mean, it's all, if you sell tickets, you sell a lot of tickets, then a big promotion likes you. And my fiance is really well known on social media, and she helps me a lot, and that's what it's all about nowadays.
Social media.
Yeah, definitely.
So where can people find you or follow you? I mean, you're on social media, so tell us where we can follow you.
My Facebook is John Paul Elias, and it's my full name. On Instagram, I go by John Elias MMA.
So are we ever going to see on Instagram a picture of you with that belt in your hand?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people posting already on my page that they want me to hurry up and get up there so that I can give it a shot. It's a lot of people that don't like the current champion.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but will you ever move out of the Valley? I mean, you hear all the time that fighters that come from certain towns will go to like Vegas or LA or somewhere like that. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your future. You think you'll ever move out?
Well, I'm currently kind of, my fiance's in LA a lot. That's where her profession is all. That's where she is for her profession, and so I go there a lot. But I think for me, it's just all about the training that you get. And I'm fortunate enough to have Jasper here in Fresno, and he's a world-class trainer. And I don't think that I could get better training somewhere in LA or anywhere than I could here. So, I really can't predict the future, but
we'll always follow you because we know that you're from the Valley, so you have fans in the Valley that will follow you. Tell us a little bit about outside the ring. How important is the way you carry yourself? And the reason I say that is recently there's been stuff on the news of not fighters but other professionals that have carried themselves poorly.
Right.
They've lost sponsors.
Yeah.
One great football player lost a lot of sponsors because of the way he treated his family off camera and outside of the field. Is your industry the same? I mean, are you watching the way you carry yourself out there?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's very important. I mean, you have to, it's an in the cage and out of the cage sport. As far as, a lot of people know what John Jones is going through right now. It's all over the news, all over the internet, and you can't be doing stuff like that. You got to stay out of the trouble. I don't like people's perception. A lot of people's perception of a fighter is, it's not very good. It doesn't have that great of a name for itself. But everybody's not like that, and especially most of the champions aren't like that, because in order to be a champion, it takes outside of the ring. It takes a good personality. It takes somebody who takes care of themselves and isn't getting in trouble, and it's definitely just as important as being in shape.
Do you have anybody you look up to in the industry? I mean, is there and I'm putting you on the spot again, but is there certain fighters that you look up to and say, that's who I want to be, or that's the level? Maybe the better question is that's the level I want to be at?
Yeah, definitely. Not too long ago, I was lucky enough to go up to AKA in San Jose and spar with Daniel Cormier before he fought John Jones. And Cain Velasquez also trains there. And those two guys they're intense. And after I went up there and I got to see them train, I started relaying some of their aspects in my own fight game. I keep the pressure on. One of the main things I learned from them is once you turn around, you're always in their face, constant pressure, and just wear your opponent down. And those two, I think DC definitely had what it takes to beat John Jones, and I think he should have. And if he didn't this time, but he'll get it. And Cain Velasquez, as everybody knows, is the heavyweight champion right now. So they're obviously doing something right, and I was fortunate enough to go train with them, and so I definitely look up to those guys.
Tell us a little bit more about. We're running out of time, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, time went by very fast today.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about the February fight, where you're going to be fighting, who you're going to be fighting, where can people find tickets. Talk about that.
Well, I'm fighting a local guy also. He's from Bakersfield. He's a little bit shorter than I am. It's kind of one of those typical fights. It's a striker versus a wrestler. People tend to call me a striker, but I'm pretty well-rounded. But this guy's a state champion wrestler or something. I don't know if he's state champion, but
And you're on the undercard on that?
yeah,
part? Okay.
yeah, on the undercard, and it's going to be at the Save Mart Center, and tickets are for sale all over the place. You can get them at the Save Mart Center. If you can contact me through Facebook, we'll be able to get them to you. Yeah.
Lastly, we are running out of time, but why should people come out and see you fight?
Because it's always nice to see a talent, and it's always nice to see something good come from your hometown.
And you're not too far. Madera Ranchos, that's where you grew up, and
Yeah,
that's not far from the studio.
It's basically Fresno. Anybody from the Madera Ranchos knows you're basically from Fresno.
We are out of time this week on the program, but I want to have you back on the program after you win.
Yeah.
And tell us about the experience of that fight.
That would be great.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Thank you to the volunteer crew that make this production and every production possible. Thank you to the audience members listening to this broadcast on 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno. Thank you to those viewing this on Comcast 93, AT&T 99. Tune in next week for a new edition of the program. This week's guest, John Paul Elias, local fighter.